HMD Global's Nokia 7.2. I've used it as my primary smartphone for a week now. So is this an overpriced offering, a Snapdragon 660 at 18,500, or is this a hidden gem of a phone, a Zeiss triple camera that is pretty underrated? That's exactly what we're going to be finding out in today's video. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and if you do end up liking what you see here, please don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. One of the best things about the Nokia 7.2, it's gotta be the build. The frosted glass back, it's very nice to look at, and it is kind of different from the gradients that we've been seeing, and immediately takes us to the iPhone 11 Pro, the Pixels, the more expensive phones, giving the 7.2 a premium feel. The 7.2 does not have a metal frame though. Instead, HMD Global's opted to go for a polymer composite here. It's supposed to be stronger than the usual plastic frame, but lighter than metal. It doesn't feel as premium as metal in hand though, but it does feel better than plastic. It's got that matte finish going for it, and at 8.3mm, the Nokia 7.2 isn't too thick. The camera bump is a slight negative, but most phones these days have that. Below this camera bump is the fingerprint scanner. It's positioned just right, and it is recessed, so it's easy to hit. It's not too fast, but it's fast enough. Now, the Nokia 7.2 weighs 180 grams. The weight is manageable, but the dimensions here, they mean the 7.2, it's not really comfortable for single-hand use at all times. All the more so because the frosted glass back is real slippery, and HMD Global hasn't included a case here in the box. Now that said, the back is very resistant to scratches and fingerprints. It's Gorilla Glass 3 that's protecting both the front and back here. And another thing I really liked is this power button. It's present to the right. It's got an LED notification light built into it. It looks pretty classy, and the button itself, along with the volume rockers above it, it's pretty clicky and tactile. There is a headphone jack up top along with a secondary noise cancelling microphone. The audio output via this headphone jack was reasonably okay, nothing to complain about. To the left we have a Google Assistant button. This is one I kept hitting accidentally. Not often enough that it was a problem and I had to turn it off. Now, turning it off is an option, but I would have loved to see it be remappable, but that isn't an option sadly. That said, despite a few accidental hits, I did end up finding it useful. To the bottom we have the primary mic, speaker, and a USB Type-C port. The speaker output, it's pretty loud, it's clear, I did like it. The USB Type-C port, the charging speed it offers, that was a letdown. The 7.2 only ships with a 10-watt charger in the box, which at this price point is quite unacceptable by itself. There is no quick charge support either, which is extremely unacceptable. So even if you do end up buying an 18-watt charger, no dice. The max charge speed's 10 watts only. The chip inside can technically support 18 watts, but that's not something HMD Global seems to have licensed. Now the 3500 mAh battery inside this means it's going to take you about half an hour to just go from 0 to 30. That's pretty slow by today's standards. To give you some perspective, the OnePlus 7T goes from 0 to 70 with a 3800 mAh battery inside in about half hour. Now, you're going to be needing to charge the 7.2 more than once a day, at least once or twice a week. At least I did. The battery life, while not bad, it's not good either. With light usage, getting through a day on a single charge, now that's definitely going to be possible. And I did get through most of my days on a single charge, but on those days where I was testing out games or the camera performance, the battery did end up running out by late evening, and I found myself having to hunt for a charger. Now to the front we have a larger 6.3-inch IPS panel this time around, but the notch is smaller since it only has a selfie camera instead of the selfie camera sensors and earpiece like the last time. Now talking about the selfie camera, it is used for face unlock, and that didn't work really well for me. It failed a lot of times, so I mostly ended up using the fingerprint scanner or even pattern unlock. Anyway, coming back to the display, the resolution is Full HD+. The display supports HDR10 and Widevine L1. So HD streaming from the likes of Netflix and Amazon Prime, no issues with that. but for some reason I was not able to get Netflix or even YouTube to play HDR videos here. So that was a big disappointment for me. Now, there is a pure display setting here under which the 7.2 provides an SDR to HDR conversion option. Not sure if it's placebo, but it seems to do a reasonable job, and the colors displayed are vivid and the display itself seems to have a good range. The viewing angles are excellent, and this is a pretty bright panel. Oh yeah, despite being an IPS panel, HMD Global's provided an ambient display option, so if you need it, it's there. So what about the chip inside? How does that fare? Does it make up for the few corners that have seemingly been cut? Nope. In fact, weirdly enough, the Nokia 7.2 ships with the same chip as the Nokia 7 Plus, a phone from over a year and a half back. That's the Snapdragon 660 here. It is coupled with 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of onboard storage. Now to the left above that Google Assistant key, there is a tray. This is a triple slot tray, so here we do get dedicated microSD support. Now the 660, it is a pretty solid chip for a 15,000 rupee phone. Now I'd say that if this was 2018, but this isn't 2018, we're at the fag end of 2019. And in this segment, we have brands coming in with Snapdragon 712, 675, 730, G90T. Hell, even Samsung's moved on to the Exynos 9611. The 660 at this point is starting to show its age. The Nokia 7.2, since it is part of the Android One program, it's able to cover some of these cracks caused by the older hardware with the smoothness of stock Android. The light and clean stock Android interface means the performance still feels fluid, but once we move away from the regular day-to-day stuff, once we have a few apps updating in the background, or once we have a few Chrome tabs open or a game downloading something in the background, a few stutters are not uncommon. Okay, it doesn't happen a lot, it doesn't ruin the experience. The user experience on the 7.2 is still fairly enjoyable, but the shadow of better, more powerful offerings in this segment, it looms large over it. Similarly, with gaming, most games do run fine, but at times with intense titles, there's the occasional frame drop, a bit of choppiness here and there to deal with. With stronger GPUs available, this feels underwhelming. That said, as part of the Android One program, the Nokia 7.2 is first in line to receive Android updates and security patches, and HMD Global has traditionally done a great job with this. So fast updates plus absolutely no bloat should make for an alluring combination, right? I mean, yeah, the chip, it's not the latest one here, and if the cameras do deliver, maybe HMD Global's onto something. The cameras are usually one of the most marketed aspects of Nokia phones, and that continues to be the case here with the 7.2. This time around we get 3 rear cameras. The primary is a 48 megapixel sensor. This is coupled with a f1.8 lens and a good light. This one shoots reasonably good images. They turned out quite detailed. Dynamic range seemed average to above average. The colors were on point too. Now, under low light, there is a dedicated night mode. This comes with a bit of shutter lag, and the performance here is nothing special. We've definitely seen other phones in this segment do better. The details are murky, there is an oil painting vibe, there is noise too, the images are usable, as in you can make out the subject, but that's pretty much it. The 8 megapixel f2.2 ultrawide, it shoots soft images, kind of struggles a lot with the colors, and the dynamic range isn't that good, even by ultrawide standards. The third camera though, the 5 megapixel depth sensor, this one helps with cool portrait effects. That big Zeiss branding on the camera bump, well, it's there because this camera can mimic the bokeh out lighting effects that can be achieved by some Zeiss lenses. The edge detection here is impressive, the 7.2 does an excellent job, and the different bokeh effects are nice to have. From a portrait standpoint, the 7.2 does really well. The 20 megapixel selfie camera has this option too, and despite not having a dedicated depth sensor, it fares quite well with subject isolation too. The image is 5 megapixels though, and just like with the primary rear camera, pixel binning is going on here too. With regards to rear camera video, the 7.2 can shoot at up to 4K 30 FPS, the footage is sharp and detailed, but it is shaky. At 1080p there is stabilization, but we lose detail as expected, but surprisingly, even dynamic range takes a hit. Okay, now with that, let's talk price. The Nokia 7.2 launched at 18,600, But as of now, it's already selling for 16,600 something on Amazon. Even at that price, I feel the Snapdragon 660 is going to be a hard sell. Now, there is a lot to like about the 7.2. The build is really good, the in-hand feel, the display for the most part, portrait mode, stock Android, the fast updates. But then again, at this point of time, with so many options, the Snapdragon 660, the lack of fast charge support, unimpressive cameras, weak battery life, there are just way too many compromises here for the 7.2 to make sense. So unless you're hell-bent on buying a Nokia phone, or unless you're seeing a huge price cut on this, or you're getting a great deal, I'm gonna have to ask you to pass on this one. That's just my 2 cents. What do you think? Do you agree with my conclusion? Do you feel HMD Global's cut a few too many corners here? Do you feel they should have priced this more aggressively or gone with a newer chip here? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.